We will now declare the February 9th City Council meeting to order. First item on our agenda tonight is public input. Anyone having any public input about any of our agenda items or anything else, feel free to come to the microphone, give your name, and no one? Okay. Any of the councilors have a conflict of interest from any of the agenda items tonight? No. Number 3, consider authorizing the minutes of the following meetings. January 26, 2015, council meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Councilor McDonough, seconded by Councilor McDougall. Any errors or omissions in the minutes or any comments? All those in favor? Unanimous. Consent agenda. January Fire Department report, January Police Department report, January Library report, January Housing Department report, and January 2015 financials.
Move the slate.
Second.
Moved by Councilor McDonough, seconded by Councilor Caribou. Any questions or comments on any of the consent agenda items? I have a number. I have a number on the financial report. And some of it may just have been things that I missed here going through, but trail groomer reserve, $365.15. There's $60,000 in there, and the last time we bought a groomer, Gary, didn't we use all the money we had? Did we get a grant or something?
That was the money we got back from the capital equipment from the state.
Okay, so it was a grant back from the state, basically.
Correct.
All right.
Yep.
There's some other things in there, and the library roofing, $366.01. There's still $5,800 in that account.
We'll be moving that into the rest of the building reserve account.
Okay. I mean, we did that library roof a long time ago. I mean,
The last bill was paid in 14.
it must have been near the beginning of 14.
Right.
You know, I was thinking we've talked about, and we're going to come to it here with our investment policy and reporting on a quarterly basis. I think that general ledger should be gone over every quarter.
We present it to council every month.
And things like this that, you know, probably shouldn't be there anymore and should be moved somewhere else. There should be a listing of what should be moved, and we agree to move it and move it. The other thing, that the drink grant personnel item there, $367.05. There's $26,000 in there now, and I see there's $3,000 gone in here again in January. Are we going to get $36,000 this year? Is that $3,000 a month, or what?
The total amount varies from year to year, and it's all based upon when the enforcement actions actually
Last
occur.
year it was $13,000 is what we got. Now there's like $3,000 in January.
Yep, there was some expenses that we paid to the sheriff's office, I believe it was recently, so.
And what is that money, what's going to happen with that money that's there?
That's all for DUI or DWI enforcement. And some goes to us that we pay our officers, some goes to the surrounding departments, Presque Isle, the sheriff's office, and other ones.
But what we have here is what is ours.
No, that's everything, because we're the fiscal agent for the
Okay,
county.
okay, that explains it.
Yeah.
All right. NACIF cleanup. We've got $18,000 in there now, and I see there was $6,797 in January. Did we do some work there in January?
That would have been a combination of the engineer inspection and the environmental soil testing.
Okay. 43000, D. Cooper Memorial Fund. I don't know if that's a library fund, I think, I'm not sure.
She was an English teacher at the high school. I mean, this is
Yeah,
a long time ago.
but I see there was $4,500 spent in January.
The Board of Trustees authorized buying new chairs and couches in the library.
Oh, The deferred ambulance revenue was the other thing, that 437,000. It's now at 399,814 in January. Is that money that's due us that has been billed that we haven't gotten? Or is that all under the sweet spot receivables there, or sweet soft receivables, or?
I'd have to double check before I could answer with 100% confidence.
All right. On the expense summary, general government, health insurance, for the month of January is $16,831 for the month. Last year it was only $107,000 for the whole year. I mean, that comes up
Pay
to...
2 months at a time.
That's what?
2 months at a time.
2 months at a time.
Right.
So
It'll be
next,
January and February.
so next month there won't be any. That,
Shouldn't be.
uh, 038 was, what was it? Oh yeah, 038 and 040 now have been moved into general government. They are always under insurance and liabilities.
And they've been separated out to each department as part of the budgeting process, which we made council
Yeah,
aware of.
I don't know if all the counselors have looked at this closely, but there is a lot of changes this year from the way this has been set up in the past, and,
We discussed them all during the budgeting process
Yeah.
to try and make everybody aware.
a lot of things that aren't in this budget, though. There's no diesel
Because
or,
there's no budget numbers put in yet. We'll have, once those are put in, all the numbers will be populated. These are just the expenses that were actually done. Because we have to wait for the revenues before we can put the budget, or the expenses.
so we didn't use any diesel or gas in January?
If it didn't hit the expense line, it's not there. It wasn't expensed out in January.
The only other item I had was on fire and ambulance, and, and again, I guess when I looked at it, and I looked at what our expenses were for fire and ambulance for the month, were $191,000. And even with that figure, there's no workman's comp in there, there's no fuel costs in there, there's no training costs, there's no electricity, there's no building maintenance, none of those things have been expensed at all yet. And we're at $191,000. And when I look at the revenue, our actual revenue for the month is about $145,000. It shows 213 here, but it's got all those one-time revenues in for Woodland and all the other places, both fire and ambulance. I mean, we're off by like $65,000 at least, I figure. And over the year, that's a lot of money. I don't know. I don't see that we added people and everything in that department last year because we were going to make so much more money through it. And I don't know if there's a reason in January that didn't happen, but boy, if we stay off by $60,000 or $70,000 a month here, we're talking $750,000 by the end of the year. We're going to be out.
And that could just be a timing factor with bills coming in and out.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's certainly something we better keep a look at here, because if we're not going to get the revenue, we discussed before, we wouldn't keep the people we had now.
We cleared about $130,000 above and beyond the additional expenses for those new people last year. And I believe that was all part of the report that was the fire department report for the 2014 annual one.
There was a couple other little things that stuck out too. The meals for prisoners here under the police department, $793 for the month. Last year was $2,100 for the whole year. Now we're almost $800 for the first month. That
It'd just be a timing thing.
didn't make sense to me either.
And if you want to have these conversations before council meeting or after council meeting, we can research them a lot easier at that point in time and talk with the department.
I understand that perfectly, except, you get this report on Friday. I don't know when we're going to discuss it after Friday, before the council meeting. I've been all day going through this today. And, I mean, and we want to improve them this night. It's pretty hard to get through them, get all the answers and everything else before tonight. You know, maybe when this comes out, we ought to wait a week until we approve it.
Council can certainly table it if they want to. We can do it however they'd like. but-
Public Works, rock salt, but we don't have any liquid de-ice or anything, and I'm sure we must have used it in January. But again, there's nothing
Probably
here.
just used our supply that we had, rather than having to buy extra.
I guess that's basically, I mean, that's as far as I got through it. There might be more, but, you know, we're asked to approve an expense and revenue sheet here, and it looks like there's a lot of things that aren't even in it. So,
The budget numbers haven't been entered, and that's the biggest problem right now. But those were entered, I think they were finalized.
but these
today.
numbers won't change at all. None of the expenses will
Right.
change, none of the revenues will change on
For the
this.
month, correct, yep.
Okay. All right, that's the only questions I had. Oh, anybody else got anything? We have a motion on the consent agenda. All those in favor? Approved. Next item, consent agreement with Daniel Burgoyne. Mr. Blease.
As part of the approval the council gave to Mr. Burgoyne to buy back his tax-acquired property, the council expressed that he needed to remove the building and the property needed to be removed by July 1st. The minutes read the house, when the plan was when the property was on the list to be removed under slum and blight, it would have been all the buildings on the property. From my discussions with Mr. Burgoyne, he understood that it would have only been the house, not the garage, to be removed from the property. So we need some clarification from the council as to what the council wanted to be removed and authorize a consent agreement to be signed accordingly. And a quitclaim deed can be approved once the consent agreement's signed. Everybody should have received pictures. It looks like some of them have them here, so.
What are council's wishes? I must say, the night that we discussed it, we only talked about the house. But,
But if you look at that garage, the roof line is straight, there's no sag over the doors, overhead doors, that's the first thing you'll notice. I mean, it could put some siding on it.
Yeah, it
but I
needs to be
mean,
finished.
It looks structurally sound to me. I mean, the house, the roof line is straight on that. I mean, so, I don't have a problem with leaving the garage.
I don't either. I went out and looked at this today, and it looks fine, other than like the siding. Does he want to leave it? Does he want?
He'd like to leave the garage.
Yeah, I don't see any problem with that.
Yeah, I made the original motion so he could buy back his property, and I was under the intention that it was just to remove the house. I didn't remember the garage being a discussion.
So then we'll need council authorization on the consent agreement.
we get a motion?
Move it. Second.
Move that we just require the house to be removed. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor? Unanimous. Investment policy. Manager Place.
The investment committee met on February 2nd, discussed the city's investment policy. They're making the recommendations for changes to the policy. Most of the changes to the policy will allow for more options for city funds to be invested. It removes the stricter requirements that the city policy previously had and requires the city to simply follow the state standards, which are a little bit less stringent. So the policy with the changes are on the following pages.
Doing this kind of in regards to the fact of the $3 million that we may be getting back, or are getting back.
Right. It'll help us to invest that. We'll be able to, once we adopt the policy, we'll be able to go out for RFPs to the local banks to see what, or local state banks that we can get for investment options. So yeah, this is why it's being looked at right now.
Any questions or comments from anyone on the investment policy? I know a lot of you were here the night we discussed it, so.
Mary, can I move that we accept the investment policy as presented this evening?
Second.
Moved by Councilor McDonough, second by Councilor Martin, to approve the investment policy as presented this evening. All those in favor? Unanimous. Parking lot ordinance. Manager, please.
As the council's aware, we need to update the parking lot ordinance. The new ordinance, proposed ordinance is on the following pages. Language to be removed is in strike-through, language to be added is underlined. There are only two changes here. The first change is to eliminate references to the parking lot at 65 Herschel Street. The second change is to clarify and modify the name of 7 Hatch Drive to the Hatch Drive North parking lot. That'll help clarify which city-owned lots on Hatch Drive the ordinance refers to and match it up with the signage at the parking lot. The ordinance was introduced at our last meeting. Tonight we need to hold a public hearing. After that, the council may act on the ordinance.
We'll declare the public hearing open on the parking lot ordinance. Anyone that wishes to speak?
I'll go first.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Patrick Bennett. I'm an attorney here in town, and I also am the owner of one of the office buildings in the downtown area. And I just have just a few brief remarks. You don't see me very often at these meetings, and usually I'm kind of at odds with the city. But today, I think I can say congratulations. I think it's a wonderful bit of news that we have, that we're going to improve our business economy in the town with the introduction of Saito. I think that's fantastic. So parking is a good problem to have. My comments are just basically centered on the fact that my understanding is that the net result of the ordinance change will be to clear the way to allow for the additional parking that Sitel needs, to the effect of about 100 cars during the daytime, which again is wonderful. My concern is that, of course, I'm in the downtown mall area every day, and there are times, and there are more than a few, that we don't have enough parking. Parking tends to be in scarce supply at times. Not every day, but it happens. So my concern is with the Herschel lot and any other lots in the downtown that would be removed from basically the public's ability to park there, is do we create pressure in the other lots that the other lots may not be able to maintain? There is space in the downtown lots, I think, to take a lot of this extra parking. But we may come to a point where we've got to be creative and think about how do we add other parking for the public if we're going to take 100 spots out. So I just throw that out there for you guys to think about as you decide whether to change the ordinance and pull the Herschel lot out of the parking area. My other thought, again, with the Herschel lot is, or any of the public parking lots that we would sell to a private entity, is there a plan to put some language in place in those deeds so that if that business entity doesn't continue in the building and doesn't need that parking area, to have that revert back to the city to again become public parking? And again, I don't know if that's been discussed, but I would think that would be something to think about, just to protect the city's interests in the future. That's my comments.
Thank you very much. I think all of council hopes that we have that problem where we aren't going to have enough parking and have to look for some more somewhere else.
That would be a good thing.
Any other comments?
So I'm Robbie Jalbert. I'm the site director at Sitel, actually. So 17 years we've been in the community. So, ultimately we want to have partnerships in Caribou. We want to see Caribou grow. I was born and raised here in Caribou. So we know that it's a lot of stress on the city, but I think when ATX was here, it was even more stress by them not having their own parking lots. I've been talking to Dave Sleeper and a few other of the guys already, like, okay, how can we work with you? And I would send that out to every business owner in downtown that Sitel's here to stay because we want the economy in Caribou. We're not going to, Canada. We're not going to New York. We're not leaving. We knew that being out on the base was a struggle and that our best option would be to come to Caribou. But parking is a huge issue, and being a 55,000 employee company, parking is one of the major productions for them to come here. So without parking, it would really restrict our ability to come to town. So I think at this point, really what we want to do is just be a good partner, right, with the city, with your local business owners, as well as with the residents, right? So we've already told them that they're not allowed to park on Sweden Street as at all. So that leaves all of the parking for growing businesses and local retail outlets. But as well as the Herschel Street would probably be the main parking for us because that's right behind our building. But the office park is going to be another place for us to be, but we're also willing to work with them to make sure that everybody has ample usage as well. So that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And again, from all of us, congratulations. We'd love to have you, and we're glad you're here, and we hope to see you expand in the future.
The goal is to get to 550 employees, just so everybody's kind of aware. That hasn't really been talked about too much, but
We'll have to start thinking about parking lots.
then we're in a whole different ballgame. That's right.
There are a couple lots on Collins Street.
Anyone else? All right, anything from council? We'll now declare the public hearing closed. And what are council's wishes?
I move that.
Go ahead.
ahead, Shane.
No, I don't have questions. I'd like to move that we accept the ordinance as presented. In conjunction with that, I'd like to see Councilor McDonough take the Highway and Protection Committee and take this another step and take a look at some of the other stuff in here that addresses some of the concerns that we have.
That's me now. I'll do it too.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to accept the ordinance as written. And a second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Unanimous, approved. Now we have introduction of an ordinance regarding sale of city property. Manager, please.
Section 2.11.7 of the Caribou City Charter requires an ordinance to convey, authorize the conveyance of land owned by the city. Pursuant to that requirement, the ordinance on the following pages, Ordinance 2015 series, is being presented here tonight. I recommend the council introduce the ordinance tonight and a public hearing be scheduled for a meeting to be held on February 23rd. We did not originally have a meeting scheduled for that night, however, the council's requested a workshop for that night already. Having a meeting to discuss this ordinance and then holding the workshop after that meeting would accommodate both that evening. If the council feels the ordinance should be acted upon more quickly on the 23rd, the charter requires only a 7-day advance notice of the public hearing. That means the council could hold a special meeting as early as the 18th. I don't think that's completely necessary. I think working with February 23rd is a doable timeline.
All right, can we have a counselor introduce the ordinance, please?
Introduce. Ordinance to be acted upon, public hearing on February 23rd.
Ordinance number 2, 2015 series, City of Caribou, County of Aroostook, State of Maine, regarding the sale of municipal property. And that's all we need for tonight. Next is the introduction of the nuisance property ordinance from the planning board.
The following page is the nuisance property ordinance that the planning board has been working on for the past several months. The board took a lot of time to go over this ordinance, solicited feedback from residents and landlords over the past several months, and has voted to pass this ordinance onto the council with a recommendation for passage. At the public hearing on February 4th, no members of the public spoke in regards to the ordinance. This ordinance would allow the city to better protect the health, safety, and welfare of the residents of the city of Caribou by reducing the recurrence of nuisance conduct in dwellings that disturbs the peace and tranquility of others. So the ordinance is on the following pages. Tonight, the council may introduce the ordinance. We can schedule a public hearing for it for our next regular meeting or on the 23rd if the council would wish, and the council can act on it at that point in time.
Need someone to introduce the ordinance.
Mary, I'll introduce ordinance number 3, 2015 series, City of Caribou, County of Aroostook, State of Maine, an ordinance creating Chapter 8 Article 5, nuisance property ordinance, short title nuisance property ordinance.
All right. When would you like the public hearing? Do you want to do it on the 23rd, or do you want
Yeah.
to do it on the 23rd?
Third works.
All right. We'll mark it for the 23rd. Other business? Anything, anyone? Yes, Mr. McDonough.
Can we get the vehicles that aren't currently marked with the city logos and whatever taken care of?
By taken care of, you mean marked?
Yeah.
If that's the direction the council would like us to go again.
I think it would be appropriate. Most every other vehicle's all marked. There's just a couple, three, I think, that aren't marked anyways. Just to be consistent.
What's it cost?
I'd have to
Not very
look into it.
You should check into those magnetic, seriously.
Is that a motion, Mr.
I'll make it
McDonough?
a motion that we
Okay.
mark the city vehicles with the appropriate city markings that aren't currently marked.
I'll second it.
Moved by Councilor McDonough, seconded by Councilor Terrio to mark city vehicles that aren't currently marked. Any other questions or comments?
I'm just curious what spawned that, just curious.
Questions from people on the street?
Yep. I've had a lot of feedback.
Anything else? All those in favor? Was that unanimous? Was there anybody opposed? Okay, unanimous. Any other business, other new business? I guess that's it. Manager, please, you don't have anything else?
I do, Mayor. I'd like to set the meeting for the highway protection.
Have a
for
date?
Probably sometime, sometime this month. 17th. Tuesday, the 17th?
I'm on that. I'm on that committee.
Yeah, you are.
I'm not gonna be in town.
When are you gonna be in town?
I will be back in town, I think, gone from the 14th. I'll be back the 22nd,
Okay.
so anytime after that, or
Have to be after the council meeting and workshop on the 23rd, probably.
anytime after that.
24th?
Anytime in there is fine.
How you feel, 24th?
Yeah, are we gonna meet during the day or evening or what?
Matters not to me. What you work though, right?
Yeah, but we can do it during the day. If it's
Want in the morning or
That'd be fine.
like 10
All right,
o'clock
you-
in the morning? Is that okay?
10 o'clock on the 24th.
10?
Quick question. Manager, please, we talked about Train coming to talk to us about the pellets and how much money we'd saved and all that. Wasn't there not talk they were going to come to council to show us how much money we'd saved?
I don't recall any discussion that they were gonna
I
present
thought-
anything to council.
Okay, I thought that was part of what they had said.
No,
Where are we at with that deal?
auger system has been installed at the fire station. The rec center and library augers have been ordered and should be here this week. They're still trying to engineer a solution for the one here.
Is the one working at the fire station now?
We've had one hiccup with it since the auger system was put in. Otherwise, it's been running fairly consistently.
And how long has it been there?
About a month now.
So there is hope?
It's 5 or 6 weeks, maybe. Yeah.
There is hope.
Is it maintaining?
And it's running the regular pellets that we were running before from, yeah,
Ashland did.
okay.
Maintaining the heat without the oil furnace kicking in so often?
When all the doors are closed.
Okay, well, yeah, okay, yeah, so, which is not often.
And where are we at with Train as far as last year, as the savings we got, or that they claim we got, or?
They claimed we saved 89,000 or whatever. I sent the report out to the council in December.
Yeah, and so that's it, we've accepted that, and,
There's not much we can do to fight their calculations, unfortunately. It's not done on actual dollars spent. The contract was written up as calculations based upon rates, hours they believe we will have saved or should have saved with everything else. We're still waiting
Except-
for them to explain the methodologies a bit more.
yeah, except
but-
it didn't run.
Yeah.
So how do you save
The
money?
electricity and
Pretty
everything
serious.
else. We're still waiting for them to explain the methodologies. They haven't done that yet for us.
All right. Anything else?
Yeah, so on the 23rd, we're gonna have 2 public hearings and then the workshop?
Yeah.
Okay.
So is that just public hearings, or is that a regular council meeting as well? Or just,
If there's anything that comes up, we'll run it as a regular council meeting.
Anything else? Got a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor? We're adjourned. Thank you very much.